should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time!
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah!
I finished these fights.
Give me a hell yeah!
Top Rope Nation.
Learn to love it. It's the best thing going today.
Joe DiMaggio, 56-game hit streak. Boys to Men and Mariah Carey, One Sweet Day, 16 straight weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. King Sabhuza II of Swaziland, 82 years as king. Crocodile Dundee, 9 consecutive weekends being number 1 at the box office. Unfortunately, all great streaks must come to an end. And so it's with a heavy heart that I tell you for the very first time, Brian Drosty, due to prior commitments, will not be appearing on this week's show. Instead, and possibly the greatest downgrade in talent since Jay Leno took over The Tonight Show from Johnny Carson, I, Justin Joint, will be hosting. Yeah, in this episode, the inmates run the asylum. Welcome to Top Rope Nation, Electric Boogaloo. Kyle Ross, are you ready to do this?
I am ready. That was a very fine intro there, buddy.
Thank you.
I didn't know where you were going. Yeah, wow. Do not adjust your speakers, ladies and gentlemen. That is not the voice of Ryan Drosty here. And we hope Ryan's having a great time tonight. But yeah, ready to rock and roll with you, buddy.
Yeah, and normally I either don't drink or I have a little vodka, but in honor of Ryan, I cracked open a Two-Hearted Ale tonight.
Wait, did you just say you don't drink on most episodes? That's
no, if I don't drink.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's very rare. I was going to say, talking about streaks still being intact. I was going to say the alcohol on this show is
it's essential.
Yes.
Well, I'd just like to thank everybody for being here with us, and I'd ask you to subscribe to the show wherever podcasts are found, including Apple Podcasts, where you can subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us a review, and we'll read it on the air. We are also available on Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Play, TopRopeNation.com, and wherever podcasts are found. We are recording live right now on Patreon. You can get access to our live stream each and every week and early access to the show for just $1 a month. Join the $5 a month tier and get access to our show notes every week, an exclusive sticker sent to you in the mail, and access to our Patreon exclusive podcasts, including Ryan and Kyle just put out an edition of the Top Rope Nation Extra, exclusive to Patreon, on Monday, reviewing Extreme Rules and Fight for the Fallen. Plus, we'll be giving away the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Macho Man Randy Savage Slim Jim themed WWE Elite figure in August to one of our supporters on Patreon. You don't want to miss that. You got to get signed up to have a chance to get this incredibly rare figure. So let's dig in right now. Extreme Rules is over, and so
been a lot of television. I've
Yeah.
watched, a lot of wrestling I've watched in the last 5 days. And like you said, anyone who wants to hear about Extreme Rules, Fight for the Fallen, and even the Evolve Anniversary show, we did touch on that briefly, but in the interest of time, we kind of skimmed through it. You can be a patron, listen to that show that Ryan and I did. We reviewed Fight for the Fallen, Evolve, and Extreme Rules. But tonight, I know it's Raw and SmackDown pretty much exclusively that we're going to talk about as we prepare for the road to SummerSlam.
That's right. And, things are starting to settle into place as far as, especially, I think we can say we got our championship matches, for the most part, looking like we know where they're going, and maybe even a couple of the undercard matches.
By the way, is this the 32nd SummerSlam? Really?
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it would be. Yeah. 88. So yeah, so that means 2017 would have been 30. Yeah. Well, 32nd SummerSlam. Huh.
They go by quick.
Yes. So yeah, you pardon me there. You talked about it, that we're getting this, that the top of the card's taking shape. Now, as you know, SummerSlam, second, third biggest card of the year, right?
Yeah.
So let's look at what we have. Okay. Universal title match, Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins, confirmed. Raw women's title match, Becky Lynch versus Nattie, confirmed. SmackDown women's title match, Bayley versus Ember Moon, confirmed. Not confirmed, but very, very likely is WWE title match, Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton. Justin, my question to you is, do you feel, and you can answer for yourself, what you think wrestling fans coast to coast think, or both, you and what the wrestling fans at large think? Does this feel like an adequate top of the card for the second or third biggest show of the year? And I know we're going to get in. There was a lot that happened on WWE television this week. We're going to try to cover as much as we can, and we're going to talk about how these matches were made. But that's the question I want to pose to you. Does this feel like an adequate, big time top of the card for the second or third biggest show of the year?
At this moment, no. But I think with the matches, they have a chance to build them to feel that way. The only one that I have some real concerns about is Becky Lynch and Nattie. At least Bayley and Ember Moon is somewhat of a fresh matchup. Lesnar, Rollins, obviously, they've headlined shows multiple times, and I'm not convinced that match is actually going to happen the way it stands. I have a feeling they're going to add somebody, or maybe Rollins replaces somebody. I don't know. I think there's going to be something else going on with that. And Kofi and Orton, they've got a lot of history that they could build to, and arguments could be made that, does this make Kofi an even bigger deal? I don't know.
Okay. So I figured you would say that. And I agree with you. It does not feel like an adequate top of the card for the second or third biggest show of the year, these four matches. And, something I like to do as a member of this podcast, as one of the triumvirate of hosts, is go back and revisit past takes that we had. And I want to take you back to the show after the Superstar Shakeup. And I believe the first comment I made on that show, Justin, was, okay, so they shook up the rosters. Let's look forward, guys. What's the big matches for SummerSlam? And we struggled to come up with it. What was the direction? I mean, obviously, the argument is, well, there's, 4 months of television. They'll come up with something. They can build something up. And I just feel like, not to toot my own horn, but toot, that comment is coming home to roost, where the lack of a big match just led in at least 3 of these matches to a challenger of the month type deal, where there's no semblance of long-term booking. It was a challenger basically put in an arbitrary match to determine the number one contender, and they're just the number one contender because they won that match. The 3 of the challengers are pretty cold and were not built long-term. None of these matches feel big to me at all, which is a problem, because it's funny. I don't know you. You were not on the post show, but did you enjoy Extreme Rules for the most part?
I would say for the most part, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a fair statement to say that Extreme Rules and the previous WWE pay-per-view offering, Stomping Grounds, had something in common in that both shows started pretty hot with overachieving undercards, but when they got to the main events, it kind of grinded to a halt? Is that kind of a fair, I think when you look at both of those shows, they have that in common, personally.
I think you could probably make that argument going all the way back to WrestleMania.
Okay. So do we think the top of the card is a problem in the WWE?
Yes.
Okay. This ain't going to fix it. These matches. I want to talk, so we can look, like you said, they can make these matches feel like a bigger deal. So again, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll talk about it the next couple weeks, how we feel about these matches that they get. But what I really want to talk about this week is how these matches were set up. because I have in my notes here, flawed in execution and result was my take. Really, for all 4 of the matches we talked about. And I think it again speaks to that larger problem with a lack of long-term booking in WWE. We can go through these matches one by one, but what did you think, generally speaking, about the way these matches were set up? You know, we had a 4-way to determine the women's contender that Nattie won. We had a battle royal where Lesnar earned the shot at, Rollins earned the shot at Lesnar. Ember Moon was in a tag with Bayley, and Bayley was like, hey, let's have a match. And then Orton did the old pin Kofi in a 6-man, which is exactly what Samoa Joe did to set up the last WWE title match at Extreme Rules. So what did you think about those things, just generally speaking?
God, I kind of liked the Bayley Ember Moon one the best. That Battle Royal, it really seemed like the only people that had a chance were Seth and Roman Reigns. I don't, with the way Braun and Lashley been feuding, didn't really seem like either one of them had a shot, even though they were probably the most next logical people to take on Lesnar. And then, for Kofi and Orton, you have one of my least favorite tropes in WWE where somebody pins the champion.
Yeah. So I want to go through each of these individually, and maybe it's going to be nitpicky, but I think they're good points that I came up with because I've been thinking a lot about this over 40 hours. Now, we should note TV ratings pretty good this week for WWE. They were up. So, people were engaged in the show and a lot happened. Didn't it feel like a lot more happened than usual on both Raw and SmackDown? It's funny because I think we're going to be negative here in these next 15, 20 minutes or so. But generally speaking, I feel I liked more than I didn't on both Raw and SmackDown. It's just that these main title programs, which to me should be the main takeaways, right? Because it's the big matches on the big show that you're setting up, just don't have me excited.
Yeah, you know what? And part of the problem is I don't know what else or who else they could have inserted to make it exciting. I mean, who could have won that battle royal for you to been excited for this match?
Okay, let's talk about the battle royal first then. Did you see the tweet about Big E during Raw?
I did not.
Okay. Somebody tweeted, and a couple of people, that WWE had sent a video out, and I meant to send this to you in the notes, and I should send it to you, and we should retweet it. That there was a backstage interview with Big E discussing him challenging Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, and everyone was like, "Did they just blow the finish for this battle royal?" And and I'm like, okay, that somebody maybe fell asleep at the wheel. But I actually got excited for this battle royal because I'm like, if Big E wins, that's kind of cool. Because here's the issue that I have. And it was taken down quickly, by the way, that video. Or that tweet by WWE, but it was caught, and then I was like, okay, wow. I'm like, and I thought that kind of made sense because a battle royal does it not just enjoy it. While it's not an ideal way to determine a number one contender, in my opinion, it was built up well. The rating held up, and that supports that. But the nature of a battle royal, the winner should be kind of an unlikely contender. And instead, they just went with the guy who already had a storyline justification to get a rematch in Seth Rollins.
Yeah, totally agree.
It
was the probably least interesting way they could have done it.
And the eliminations almost went by the pecking order, didn't they? Like they just sort of, okay, all the top guys were left. And it didn't really make anyone. To me, again, I think there was 2 ways you could go about setting up the contender for Brock. If you wanted to do Seth, I don't understand why he had to win a battle royal. I get that there's no automatic rematches and people make a big deal about that. But the only reason automatic rematches became an issue in WWE is because there's too many titles. And so there's too many rematches. Like, if anyone, if there's been a storyline this year where the former champion deserves a rematch more than Seth Rollins would in this situation, I don't know it. Right? I mean, it's like the easiest thing in the book. It was the heel cash in. He wasn't expecting it. You know, like if they had just come out at the beginning of the show and said, it's going to be Seth and Brock again. Okay, maybe that's not exciting, but like it's justified, right?
Yeah.
And if you wanted to put Seth over, just have him crush Baron Corbin. Now, I know that can't be the main event of the show, but that would have been one way. The other way is if you do this battle royal, and again, the ratings pattern suggested people were into this battle royal. I thought Heyman in that opening segment did a nice job building this battle royal, went over all of the participants. So people were kind of into it. Now, I was kind of into it, especially when I'd seen that tweet about Big E allegedly was going to win the thing. And then when he got tossed, I'm like, oh, well, I guess he's not winning. And then I was just like, all right, well, they're just going to go with the predictable answer. And I became severely less interested in it.
And Paul Heyman did a good job building intrigue when, you know, he was kind of building up Cesaro and who was the other one he kind of gave props to when they were announcing the participants.
Was it Sami Zayn?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I guess the one thing about it being the battle royal and the ratings holding up, is it the battle royal or is it the fact that it was going to determine, you know, the number one contender at SummerSlam? I mean, if you would have done like a fatal 4-way or, I mean, basically any kind of match, I think as long as it wasn't a one-on-one, the intrigue would have been there.
Okay. I think here's the real question. Was the interest because people wanted to see Seth Rollins earn the rematch, or was the interest because it seemed like somebody random could win? That's the interesting thing to me. And I guess we won't know that until the coming weeks play out and we see what the interest level is, what the ratings pattern is for the Seth Brock stuff. That's interesting. A buddy of mine brought up a thing, and we're going to get into the women's match, which was obviously a complete disaster. But a buddy of mine brought up that, you know, given how things played out, they probably should have flip-flopped the two scenarios, given the men a fatal 4-way situation where it's just basically, you know, it could have been like, you know, Seth, Roman, Brock, or Seth, Roman, Braun, and I don't know, somebody else. And then the women could have had a battle royal. Because the thing is, why do you do these number one? Well, you have to fill TV time. You know, to me, I think this whole pure sports build we hear a lot about, I don't think it you know, like we've got to determine a number one contender. Again, what did I say earlier? It's sort of arbitrary. We're just throwing random people in a match. And again, you know, when you look at the women, and we'll get to that we're thrown into that number one contenders match, 3 of them hadn't even been pushed heavily or let alone been winning on television for months. And all of a sudden it's like, well, if they win this, they're number one contender. Whereas to me, wrestling works better when you have someone who's been built up over time and all of a sudden the time is right for them to challenge for a title, not they just arbitrarily win a number one contenders match.
100%. I'd 100% agree. If Ember Moon had been winning mid-card matches for the past, you know, month, 2 months.
And Lord knows there's a lot of women on that main roster she could be beating.
Yeah. I mean, that would have made that moment feel a lot bigger instead of just kind of thrown together.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I just think that, to me, what do you think? Would you have preferred they went with the Battle Royal situation? Would you have preferred then them go with someone besides Seth, or was Seth the right call here?
You know, man, this is such a lame answer. It just all depends on what they're going to do with it. If this, like, because my initial thought the second he won is like, okay, this isn't the match. Like, Roman Reigns is going to get inserted somehow, or Seth is going to get replaced. And that's going to lead to something with whoever replaces him down the road, perhaps like a Seth heel turn for having his spot taken away. I guess the only thing that makes me think that they are actually going to have this match is because Seth and Brock have never really had a real, you know, time consuming match before. You know, they had the Money in the Bank cash in I believe it might have been before that when he had the triple threat with John Cena. That was a triple threat.
It was 2 months, but that was the Rumble 15, yeah.
And then, you kind of had the scaredy heel Seth Rollins, when he faced Brock Lesnar, but that had the smosh finish with The Undertaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was, I think, like the pay-per-view before SummerSlam in 2015.
And then we had WrestleMania, which obviously was a very short match. So are they going to use this match to really prop up Seth to get a real win over Brock Lesnar? Or, I mean, the only thing I could think of is that they're going to use a Brock victory to, one, get something else going with Brock, and two, to start a possible heel run with Seth Rollins.
I don't know about a heel run with Seth Rollins, but both Ryan and I were very negative on our reaction show to the Brock Lesnar cash-in because, you said it, it's all about what they do. Well, let's look, with Brock, we know these kind of absentee title runs don't make for good TV because it just sort of holds the rest of the pecking order down because you have fewer title matches. So, guys can't be elevated at the rate you'd want to be. And the payoff has never been worth it. We saw the payoff with Roman at SummerSlam last year. That wasn't satisfying. Seth at Mania was a little more satisfying, but still not really. I mean, it wasn't like this mega job where he put the guy over big time in either instance. It just wasn't. So now you've got a situation where, okay, Seth's getting a rematch. So one of two things happens. One, he just wins the title back from Brock, which seems kind of silly, right? Like, why would you just have him lose it and win it right back?
What does that do for either guy?
Yeah, well, like is Seth really going to be any more over with that, if that scenario plays out? I mean, I guess you had to do the cash in, but again, the argument could be made that you should have gone with somebody else having the briefcase rather than Brock Lesnar. Or you have Brock retain, and then you've got to figure out something else to do with Seth in the interim. And then you're going to have, same old Brock. I think Brock against someone new would have worked better here, personally. Even if, again, I'm maybe being a bit of a hypocrite, and it would have been somebody, there wasn't anyone in this match who it was just like, oh, that's the guy. This guy is so ready for a title match. But a battle royal lends itself, again, I've harped on this several times in this podcast, and because I really feel that way. Doing a battle royal to determine a number one contender really lends itself to having an unpredictable winner. It's a way where you can elevate someone who normally wouldn't be in the title scene. They kind of get, they get it because, it's an unpredictable match, and they get in there. I think Big E would have actually been a great choice.
Okay.
And then they could have done, somebody could have eliminated Seth, and he could have just had his own just kind of 1 month program for SummerSlam where he wins, heats back up, and then he's ready for Lesnar, because Lesnar presumably would beat Big E.
And really, the only person that would have made sense for, the situation it being a battle royal is Big E, because otherwise you have Sami Zayn and Cesaro, who are both heels.
Yes.
So that dynamic doesn't really work. Do you think there's any chance that, because we've kind of seen this thing before where maybe they were going to go with Big E, that video got released, Vince found out, and how much he hates surprises being spoiled.
But like, it was released. Well, I think it was released. People started retweeting it before Raw.
But he replaced Daniel Bryan, didn't he? I'm pretty sure.
Yes, Sami Zayn replaced Daniel Bryan. Yes.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah, Sami Zayn replaced Daniel Bryan in that. So I don't know why that was, but other than, I don't know, maybe it was in Bryan's contract that he didn't have to work. If he doesn't want to work both shows in a week, he doesn't have to, because we know he has a cushier contract. Because I mean, it's not as much as, first of all, Daniel Bryan loses too much, but I don't think, given he's getting pinned in tag matches every time, I don't think being eliminated in a battle royal would have really been a big deal. I don't know why, but it's just that, to me, I would have gone in a different direction with that. If you're going to do the battle royal, again, Lesnar Rollins of these 4 matches is the one that makes the most sense. It's very logical based off what happened at Extreme Rules. And again, if you want to hear our thoughts on what happened at the end of Extreme Rules, become a patron, listen to our show where we recap Extreme Rules. Let's move on to this women's four-way, shall we?
Okay, I have a dirty secret. You're going to be shocked by this.
Oh my God, you liked the match?
I didn't watch the fucking match.
Oh, okay. All right. Because you heard about how bad it was?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it was a disaster.
In fact, the only reason I almost watched it is because of how I heard the ending just was getting pooed on.
Okay. I still think, despite the information you have just shared with me, that you can answer this question, that you're qualified to. Okay, let's examine why this match was such a disaster. Was it the women's fault, all the women's fault? Or was this, again, another situation of WWE booking setting its performers up to fail? What do I mean by that? I mentioned this earlier. This match was announced earlier in the day. Okay, it's Alexa Bliss, Naomi, Nattie, and Carmella. You see those four announced for a number one contenders match, right? My thought was, well, okay, Alexa Bliss has to win. I mean, right? She's the only pushed person of the four. I know she just lost in the other, for the other title, but she wasn't the one pinned. It was Nikki Cross. But I'm like, it's got to be Alexa, right? Well, it wasn't, as we know. Now, Alexa was the last one eliminated, but the issue here was you put these women out there. And it had to be a long match because it was elimination rules. It was at the 2-hour mark of the show. And it's three women, again, who have not been seriously pushed in months. So what do you expect to me? Like, of course the crowd shit on it. And the work, now, to be fair, I don't think the work was particularly good in the match either. As a matter of fact, I know it wasn't. I know Alexa Bliss was very upset, took to social media to complain about the fans being rude. My response to that is, God bless you, but you shouldn't be doing chin locks late in a match in hour 3 of Raw that ain't getting over. Okay, you just shouldn't. Don't do it. Don't hit the chin lock, man. So, I think it wasn't all the women's fault. I don't think they were put in a strong position. These were not four, if this had been 4 women who had been built up, again, over weeks, over months, all kind of had legit cases to be a contender, had built momentum, were over with the audience, the reaction's different. This is what happens when you don't build up challengers over a long period of time. You just arbitrarily throw people in these number one contenders matches. 75% of the participants, no one gave a hoot about, and there you have it. And that's why I think the crowd was upset. It just, it's like they just kind of assumed Alexa Bliss was going to win. And the fact that she didn't, I don't think really meant anything in their eyes. Because Nattie, I mean, we'll get into her in a minute. I mean, God bless her. She seems like a nice woman, but she's just a low ceiling performer, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it seems like we've seen her in this role a billion times, and yeah, this is certainly a circumstance where it's like a pulling a name out of a hat booking.
Yes. Yeah, challenger of the month. Now, if you believe the reports online, the thought process for having Nattie be the challenger in this situation is that, as you know, Justin Joint, SummerSlam is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And that Nattie will be really over being it in Canada. I have a question about that line of thinking. Doesn't having Nattie go in as this Canadian hero completely undermine Becky, who's allegedly the top babyface of the women's division? Like, you're gonna go with Becky as the foreign heel, like the evil the US heel in front of the Canadian crowd? Why?
You heard it here first, folks. Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, double heel turn at SummerSlam. It's happening. I don't know. The only reason you think of is because they're planning on turning Becky heel, or they've got to have something else up their sleeve.
Okay, so
it makes no sense.
Okay, now there are people who defend these things, and those who,
you ever heard of Hart Austin? U.S. versus Canada feud, 97. That worked
pretty well. Yeah, it did work well. You know what happened when they went to Canada? The Canadian won, so that they didn't resent Austin when he would come back, over the next couple of years. Nattie, if Nattie Neidhart wins this match, I give up. God, what do you think about, I think Nattie is interesting. She seems to be free of criticism a lot. She's not someone who gets a lot of criticism. I don't think Nattie's very good. I mean, she is the proverbial, and we can use this, because, they made a storyline out of it in AEW with Cody and Shawn Spears. Nattie is the proverbial good hand, but she has very low upside to me. She is not and has never been a championship level performer for me.
No, I agree. She lacks a certain amount of charisma, and I think she has a lot of cachet because she's been around for a long time and because of her family history.
Yeah, but it's like, if you watch her come out, somebody pointed this out to me, it's always 1, 2, 3, salute the crowd. 1, 2, 3, salute the crowd. Check it out next time she comes down. That's what it is. I mean, God bless her. And the crowd did react to that line about, Becky being like a bad lover or something. But I just think that, again, I've talked about different scenarios in the booking of the women's division over the last couple months that did no favors to both Becky and then, and more recently Bayley. This is another one that's just a head scratcher to me. I don't know why you're setting up a match where Nattie is, going to be playing the Canadian hero for the crowd there, when you run the risk of alienating Becky towards your Canadian audience. She's not, Becky, God bless her, she's really over. She's not Stone Cold or The Rock, who's immune to this kind of stuff. And if she wins and beats the Canadian hero, where does that leave her with the Canadian audience?
Yeah, I don't know, man. To me, this is just a matter. It's beating a dead horse with this. We've said it a million times. The women shouldn't be split up into two brands. There's just a lack of depth in that division where, there's not a whole lot of other options they can go with. Because frankly, we've seen a lot of these matchups over and over again already.
Are you shocked that Charlotte Flair is not in either of these title matches? And the rather ho-hum way she was brought back to SmackDown. She had been off TV for over a month. Just kind of randomly showed up in Shane McMahon's town hall, okay, as he prepares for the Iowa caucus. And, then works Liv Morgan, and that's it. I was shocked because I said on our Extreme Rules show, I'm like, oh, Charlotte's got to be, because I was taking a lay of the land here. I'm like, who was challenging for these titles? So I'm like, Charlotte's got to be challenging for one of them. She's got a storyline issue with both champions. And apparently that's not the case. I was shocked by that, quite frankly.
Yeah, that was the most WWE thing ever, just to randomly bring her back to, I guess, put over Liv Morgan.
Did she really put her? I don't know. It was, to me, Liv's obviously undergoing a gimmick change. We can get to that when we talk about the rest of the show, our kind of potpourri coverage as we just kind of talk about things that we liked on WWE television. But let's finish up talking about these matches at the top of the SummerSlam card. I have less to say about on the SmackDown side than I did on the Raw side. The Raw side, I don't know, man. There was just a lot I did not like in the execution and result. SmackDown, we had Bayley teaming up with Ember Moon to defeat Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville in a tag match. Right here's something that just absolutely grinds my gears. We saw Daniel Bryan doing this with the SmackDown tag division. Bayley starts her promo by saying, I really want to elevate this SmackDown women's division. Why are they having their champions talk like this? They're basically admitting that the title I'm holding is meaningless and this division is shit when they say that. Why do they have their champions say this? I just don't get it at all. And God bless you for wanting to do it, but and the crowd was behind Ember Moon. Let's behind that. Like when Bayley's like, I'm looking for a contender, yada, 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 yada. The crowd quickly picked up that she was going to choose Ember, who was standing right next to her. Interesting that the delivery, though. I don't know if you caught this. It was Kayla Braxton was the interviewer for that segment, I believe. And she never really let Bayley name Ember Moon. Like Bayley's like, I'm looking for someone who does all these qualities and stuff. And Kayla's like, how about it, Ember? And Ember's like, I accept. When like, I don't think there was any sort of formal challenge made. I mean, it was implied by Bayley, but it wasn't really formally made.
Oh,
I thought that was odd.
It'd actually be kind of amazing if next week Bayley's like, I didn't say it was you.
that would what a hoot that would be, yeah. But you know, again, you kind of talked about this. Ember Moon, who I like a lot, and I thought was someone who could have been built up long term, getting a lot of wins, but she's kind of just been stuck in the, you know, she's been on TV, off TV. I mean, that whole feud with Mandy and Sonya, you know, over video games and donuts was kind of just ho hum. By the way, why is Mandy Rose not a bigger star in this company?
I have no idea. I mean, all of us, we were pretty convinced around WrestleMania that she was going to be champ. And yeah, now here she is middling and nowhere.
Is this like one of those things where like we're all just wrong for assuming because I think a lot of it is, look, Mandy Rose is a very attractive woman. I don't know if you're allowed to say that anymore on wrestling podcasts. I did. Okay. And I won't take it back either. Okay. And, you know, WWE certainly has a history of pushing attractive blonde-haired women. Do they not?
Yes.
Okay, Mandy Rose is an attractive blonde-haired woman. I'll say it again. And she is oddly not pushed that well. I think it's surprising to me. It really is. And I'm not saying that makes
me think. It just makes me think kind of like with the same thing with Braun Strowman, where you kind of hear that he's not pushed to the moon because of maybe some backstage stuff. Like he's not staying for the entire show, maybe not 100% dedicated, that it's not the on-screen thing that's holding them back. It's the backstage stuff.
Yeah, well, we've never heard that with Mandy, though. So I don't know. I mean, she's not like gets covers of magazines. It just seems very odd that they really have not pushed her, you know, like we all thought they would. Last title match, Randy Orton pins Kofi. I have a question for you. I think the announcing and the promos that are written for Kofi's rivals do such a disservice to Kofi Kingston. They keep talking about, this storybook tale, Kofi. Oh, but when will it end? Oh, Kofi, yeah, it was a nice little story you did at Mania, but you're not a real champion. Was this guy not the most fucking over person at WrestleMania?
Sure was.
He was made. I don't know why they're undermining that in the storytelling, because I bring this up because I saw a lot of people on Twitter.com saying, Orton's a perfect person for Kofi here at SummerSlam. He can really, solidify Kofi as the champion. Kofi was over like Rover at WrestleMania. And Randy Orton, yes, Randy Orton has a lot of cachet, and we talked about him as a guy possibly that could help elevate Aleister Black. I just think that here's the problem with Randy Orton being inserted into a world title program in 2019. Does Randy Orton as a world champion excite you in the least in 2019?
No, I can't get up for that at all.
Okay, so, and God bless him, I think Randy Orton does a lot of things well. I think he does a lot of things well, okay? Not tweet about politics. That's not one of his fortes. But, he does a lot of other things well that are wrestling related, okay? It hurts a title match when the scenario of the challenger winning is not appealing. And that's what you have here. And like I talked about, it's a little different. It's not an apples to apples thing with Samoa Joe. But I talked about this, I think last week when we previewed Extreme Rules, that I think what it hurt, as much as Samoa Joe did the best he could, and he always cuts great promos, I think what hurt the Kofi Joe program ultimately is that no one bought Samoa Joe as winning. No one did. And okay, maybe more people buy Orton as winning, and this is what makes it different. But Randy Orton being the champion, I just, why? I don't know why you do that.
Yeah, I wish they would have actually flip-flopped Randy Orton and Samoa Joe. Maybe you could have built up Joe a little bit more as a monster and then have them coming into the SummerSlam, because then you actually have some intrigue for a SummerSlam event where Joe's on a run. We've never seen him as champion. Kofi's just gotten off this feud with Randy Orton. But obviously, instead, going back to your point about how the story with Kofi is always that, does he really deserve this? And he was over at WrestleMania, but that's what WWE does. They saw that got him over, so now they are beating it into the ground because they don't have anything else.
Yeah, I just and has it ever been explained, by the way, why Vince McMahon had such a hard on for Kofi Kingston leading up to WrestleMania, and then seemingly is just fine with it now? Like, remember, like he like they did such a big thing about Vince, not letting him in the match, and then finally he let him in, and it's just fine, I guess. And there's been no interaction with the McMahons at all. Like, even with like Kofi Kingston is like the one top baby face in this company not feuding with Shane McMahon over the last 4 months. Yeah. I think that's it. I mean, you talk about legitimizing. To me, I think it's been, they've kind of given him a ho-hum slew of contenders. I mean, Dolph Ziggler. And why was he in the main event of SmackDown again?
Yeah, because that worked out great for Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah. Okay, so that's your 4 title matches. I think we're kind of...
I got one more thing. The way they pay off Kofi and Randy Orton is at some point in that match, Randy botches a move, and Kofi gets really upset and starts yelling stupid at him.
That would be incredible. That's a great callback. Check your history, folks.
Yep,
that would be a great callback. One thing I liked that Orton did, I should mention this. This was great. When they came out and did the promo, it was Joe, Elias, and him standing on the ramp, talking with New Day, and Elias, Joe, and Orton are arguing who should challenge Kofi for the title. And, it sort of just played out, well, there's going to be no title match, but let's do a 6-man. And Orton's like, 6-man? No, thanks. And he just walked off. I thought that was a great reaction for his character. Absolutely great reaction. It's little things because it makes sense. He came out to ask for a world title match. And if you come out for that and someone's like, no, you're going to wrestle in a 6-man instead. If you put yourself in that character's shoes, aren't you like, I don't want to fucking wrestle in this match. Why? So I thought that was great. That was a neat little touch rather than just having everyone just go along and say, yeah, wow, what do you know? 6 guys. We're 6 guys and we're out here and we're just going to have a 6-man just because we're all talking. I thought that was a nice little touch. So let's pivot now, a hard right turn to the rest of WWE television this week. What did you like on WWE television the most this week, Justin Joyne?
For me, it's so easy. It's the reappearance.
So fucking easy.
I love that song.
That second verse can't get played on the radio anymore.
It was the reappearance of Bray Wyatt, which I thought worked really well. Granted, it was right after Finn Balor took another L. But
got his heat back. What a scenario this was. I'll let you continue, but yeah, I kind of want to talk about this.
But man, it was just great. The way his music was playing and then just kind of drained out, and then you heard all the electricity or the lights shutting down. And boy, that mask looked a lot better on TV than it did on the Firefly Funhouse. But man, I just thought Bray looked great. I thought it was a great production, and as much as we thought they really buried his character, they have a real chance of doing what we all kind of hoped they were going to do with him in the first place, where we kind of thought he was the new Undertaker in a way before he became, the WrestleMania jobber or the jobber to the stars. I really hope they do something special with him. I hope Bray Wyatt beats the Demon King at SummerSlam, and
that's not going to happen, I guess. It seems, because Balor's leaving.
Not after until SummerSlam.
Oh, okay.
Supposedly it's not until after SummerSlam. So that would be a great way to write him off too, is Demon King loses and he disappears for 2 months and comes back, and you got another feud right there for him and Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, we should talk about this. If you have not read the reports, Finn Balor apparently taking some time off, which would explain his rather abrupt Intercontinental title loss to Shinsuke Nakamura and kind of the scenario that played out on Raw. So let's talk about this. I thought that was like so WWE, where you had Joe beat Balor. Okay, so Joe gets kind of his heat back from losing the previous night. But then Balor immediately kicks Joe's ass to get his heat back. And that just sets up Bray showing up. One minor quibble I have, and it's the only one. It's actually kind of a big one with Bray's return. Looks like he's positioned as a heel based on attacking Finn Balor. I would have gone with him as a babyface. I think the crowd wants to cheer for him. I think, and I'm going to get to what I like the most on WWE television this week in a second. We can pivot to it rather easily like this. Like a Kevin Owens, I think he's got a great anti-authority babyface run in him, Bray Wyatt. I really do. I think the heel character, okay, this is kind of a fresh coat of paint. They've got a chance. I agree with you. And a year ago, I thought Bray Wyatt was dead in the water. I thought he was done. But they've got the chance. I would have liked to see him come back as a babyface.
Yeah, my only thing with that, though, is all that Firefly Funhouse is... I don't think his character is super directed at fans our age. I think it's a much younger crowd to scare them. And probably in the end to prop up the big superstars. You know, he's going to probably be taking spears and eating Superman punches before we know it. But, you know, I think he's one of those characters that I think the older fans can love him because we think it's cool. And the younger fans can hate him because he's scary and beats up the people they like, who generally, you know, people our age don't like.
I don't know, man. I think the crowd wants to cheer for this guy. And I have an interesting thing there. So, you know, thank you for the clarification on Balor staying through SummerSlam. What's the history of Finn Balor at SummerSlam? Demon.
Yeah.
I think he's done it, the last 3 years?
Yeah. Baron Corbin, Bray Wyatt, and Seth Rollins.
Yes. You can't do it. I mean, you don't want to beat the demon, do you?
Yeah, you do. Yes.
You would beat the demon with Bray Wyatt.
Yes, that's how you really make this new character.
I agree with that, but what does Finn Balor have left? And you are the president of the Balor Club, it's my understanding. Like, look, I said the IC title was a great landing spot for Finn. We talked about this on a reaction show to Extreme Rules again, and it brought up not. Now, had he not decided to take time off, who knows if that run would have continued as the IC champ if he would have pushed higher, been more of a deal on TV. But although he did wrestle, you know, there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, he wasn't even on TV that much." It turns out that he's actually wrestled about as much on TV as anybody this year. But man, what does Finn Balor have left when if the demon loses? I guess there's the heel turn.
That's okay,
and word is he's pushing for it.
You kind of just pointed out why they need to do something different with him. Why he should probably lose and either evolve the demon, evolve his babyface character, or go heel, is because he has been on TV a bunch and everybody kind of forgot about it. I mean, he's stale. I'm a big Finn Balor fan, but he's stale and he's been stale for a while, and something's got to change. And you know what happens when you beat the demon? Nothing. The demon just comes back and wins another match because Samoa Joe beat it, and nobody really talks about that. It doesn't matter. Anybody can get beaten. It just depends on what you do after that.
It's very true because I think you're right. His current trajectory where it's like, hey, he's Finn Balor and he's, you know, he wins maybe more than he loses. You know, he's Balor Club for everybody. People react to his entrance. He's pushed, you know, he's always upper mid card, but never the top guy. But, you know, we've always got that demon in our back pocket, and that's the big stuff for the big shows. I think that whole scenario is kind of just played out where it's like people are like, he's not the demon. He's just regular Finn Balor. He'll have some okay matches and, you know, win more than he loses and be at a certain level. It is very stale, quite frankly.
And that's the perfect story is if somebody beats the Demon King, what's he left with? Because that's his final card when, you know, he needs to win. And if he doesn't have that, he needs something more, you know. Maybe he needs friends.
Yeah, and there was reports this week that he has asked to turn heel and join the club with AJ and Anderson and Gallows. So,
well, God willing.
Yes. By the way, something I liked on the before I get to what I like the most, did like all of the Club Ricochet interaction on Raw. I thought that was all well done to continue that feud. Love Cedric Alexander picking up the win over Drew McIntyre. You didn't.
I know I get it. It makes sense why it happens. Drew McIntyre makes me sad these past 6 months.
Yes. I always viewed it kind of, so did you think that they were going to do that? Did you think Cedric was going to win watching that match? Or did you think there was a chance, like when they did it? Are you like, oh, they could go with the upset here?
I kind of did, just because I thought it was really weird that
what they did the week
last
before.
week. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people pointed that out, that it was kind of, a mea culpa for the very bizarre psychology of him working under a mask, surprising the heels, and then still eating a clean L, which, we talked about that last week, just made no sense. But he got the win. I mean, you made a great statement earlier when you said it's all about how they follow it up. And I think ultimately what remains to be seen here is, are they really going to give Cedric Alexander any sort of serious push? And I'm skeptical on that.
Same here.
Like,
history tells us he's going to get a push for a couple weeks and then they're going to forget about him.
Or in 2 weeks, Drew squashes him on TV. And we just pretend, and Cedric pulled that upset, but now Drew's taking it seriously. And that first match, that wasn't the real Drew McIntyre. So, okay. What I like the most on WWE television these days, and I feel this is as someone who long pushed for a Kevin Owens babyface run, is Kevin Owens. I think Kevin Owens is absolutely tremendous as a babyface. Crowds behind him. He does things that his character behaves in a way that it makes you want to cheer for him. And that seems sort of obvious as someone who's a baby, but the WWE doesn't always do that. They kind of a lot of times make their baby faces look like dopes. And Kevin Owens, it's funny, he's outsmarting Shane, and that's getting him over, right? Like, he stuns Shane and just runs away. Now, I don't know about running away, but how that makes him, the optics of that. But, he sees the situation where he's surrounded. He goes out, rolls out, stuns Shane, and just leaves. Simple stuff like that gets him more over. Yeah.
I actually, kind of like you, I thought for a second, it's like, I kind of wish he would have just stayed there and, fought him, even if it meant like he eventually got overtaken and you end the episode like that. I mean, I don't think that hurts him at all, showing him that he's going to stand up to him instead of running away.
They don't do that a lot. Watch old wrestling, okay, which I know you're a fan of. And a lot of times you would see these angles where the babyface would just keep fighting, and he would keep, like, he would be overcoming the odds, but eventually the odds would become too much and he would succumb to him. Like, it would be 2-on-1, but the babyface would somehow, some way, would get the advantage on the two guys. But then a third guy would come down, and eventually it would be too much. But they wouldn't, WWE sometimes like goes where like the three guys that just completely obliterate the babyface, making sure the crowd is like just dead. Yeah, I mean, there was two ways, but I didn't mind it overall. I really enjoyed Kevin Owens and what they've done with him as a babyface. Again, I was very excited when it looked like he was being brought back as a babyface. I thought it was a real mistake. I mean, people are going to argue, well, their hands were tied. They needed a heel for Kofi for that pay-per-view. Daniel Bryan was there. He worked that show. I've made that point numerous times before. So I was not happy when he turned heel again. And I'm very excited to see him as a babyface. The only question I have now is him and Sami Zayn. Are we just going to forget that they were teaming up and KO walked out on him? Or are they just going to be kept apart? Is there going to be any tying of that loose end on WWE television moving forward?
It'd be interesting. God, there's no way they would do this if they did a Hell in the Cell match where Kevin Owens went to take a big bump and Sami Zayn saved Shane?
Well, yes, that would.
I can't.
2 years, yes, to the Kevin Owens Shane Hell in a Cell match.
I can't take ownership of this, and sadly, I can't give credit to whoever it was. But I saw on Twitter somebody put, where we are now compared to October of 2017.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up. Yes, it's the champions are like the exact same,
and the Shane, and we still have the Shane Kevin Owens feud.
Yeah, just with them flip flop babyface heels. Yeah, AJ is the US is a champ. Brock,
it's United States. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and Brock is the Universal champ again, and
New Day's the tag champs.
Yeah, there was 4. Yeah, that's right. That was the other one. So yeah, it's again, time is a flat circle, as you often say. Anything else from WWE television this week that we are missing that we should bring up that you liked or did not like?
I mean, it makes me sad, but Cesaro and Aleister Black are very good at wrestling.
Okay, yes. So you know what? I'm glad. So, all right, Ryan and I talked about this, and I want to give you a chance to use your 2 cents, because on the preview show last week for Extreme Rules, we raised the question, and I believe it was very fair for us to raise the question. Was Cesaro the right guy, given that he's a guy I think a lot of fans would like to see pushed higher up the card? Was he the right choice to be inserted into the role where he's clearly just someone there to elevate Aleister Black? And the thing is, and usually Wrestling 101 tells you, to elevate a guy, you don't have him, his first big one-on-one match, be this competitive, good match. You have him just dominate and look impressive, right? We talked, AEW made that mistake with Hangman Page, I believe, at Fight for the Fallen, where rather than just have him look good, they had him in this competitive match, which was a real head scratcher. I'm interested if you agree with this. Despite that sort of like my philosophy towards Cesaro being inserted into this role, they wrestled twice. Black won twice. Both matches were good. I thought the pay-per-view match was the best match of the weekend, I said, and I'll stand by that right now. I do believe Aleister Black is more over today on Wednesday, July 17th, than he was going into the weekend with the audience. I believe those matches did help him get over. I mean, it sucks for Cesaro, but, at this point, maybe the die is cast. I believe Aleister Black, I tip my cap, is more over today than he was at this time last week.
Yeah, and I wasn't ready to agree with you, but it really does seem like it because there was some buzz from their match at Extreme Rules, and I liked the end of SmackDown where he kicked the mouth guard. Yeah, that was great.
That was absolutely great. That was a great finish. It made it look so. Yeah, and it'll be again the follow-up. What do they do with Aleister Black? He's got some momentum. He's a guy who should be getting impressive wins on television. WWE, go with it. Ride the hot hand.
All right, Kyle Ross, I got one more question for you.
Okay.
What do you think Daniel Bryan is alluding to with his the next step he needs to take? You know what my initial thought was? He's going to 205 Live.
Somebody said that, and I just can't see them doing that with him.
Me neither.
I mean, unless look, we know he's a guy who does have some cachet backstage, has some clout with Vince will listen to him. I mean, he would have to make one hell of a compelling argument to Vince to be like, yeah, I'm going to that show. It would basically, I mean, he honestly could lean on the fact, well, you don't have anything really intriguing for me on the main roster, so let me just do my thing over there. God, that would be odd.
Well, but part of it could be, because this big thing has changed the world, and he brought it up again on SmackDown. It's about changing the world, and maybe it's propping up smaller guys as changing the world, that he can be on 205 Live, but still bring that title to SmackDown, and that props it up.
Okay, well, look, I've said this in the past. I like 205 Live. It has not been as strong in 2019 as it was in 2018. 2018, I thought it was consistently the best weekly show in the WWE umbrella.
I've heard Jack Gallagher versus Chad Gable 2 is a
Very
must
good.
see.
It was very good. It really, they were given time. God, I love Jack Gallagher. What a wrestler this guy is. But Gable's very good too, obviously. But it was very good. Yes, I watched it this afternoon. It lived up to the hype. It was probably the best 205 Live match this year. The 4-way was real good from a few weeks ago too. We'll table that discussion for a different time. But I've said this before about 205 Live. I'm not exactly sure why the show exists. If it's just going to kind of be like this, because we can talk about how, maybe the wrestlers in a vacuum benefit not being mixed in with the main roster because they'll be treated like jobbers. But at the same time, the crowd just kind of views them as like these guys being unworthy of the main roster shows. They are not reacted to like stars. And God bless Daniel Bryan. I mean, that might be one of his in one of the all-time great wrestling careers. If Daniel Bryan could get that show over, what a feather in the cap it would be. If it's not that, what is it? Because I know I've seen some people say it, but if it's not that, what? By the way, another great segment on 205 Live this week was Drake Maverick and Mike Kanellis.
All right, I haven't watched it. I'll have to check it out.
Drake Maverick is a tremendous performer.
Agree. I've been actually loving his 24/7 stuff.
His 24/7 stuff's great, and he's great in that He's great in that GM role. He's one of the few people who does a good job as a GM, who I actually like in that GM. Most GMs are terrible. He is very good, and the back and forth he had, and Kanellis, kind of challenging him to punch him, and he did. And they had a brawl. It was really good stuff. And Mike Kanellis, I mean, for me to care about him is tough because of his storyline is so cringeworthy right now. So yeah, I mean, what else could it be for Daniel Bryan? Let's just spitball.
I literally have no idea, and I have not even seen any other theories of what it could be. I mean, I've got nothing, man.
So we've got. I'm trying to think like what. They did the thing again. He's a heel. He said he was going to reveal it. He didn't. That was a heel. Some people were like, oh, typical WWE. They tell us they're going to do something and they don't deliver. In that case, I thought it was just a heel move where he's just trying to lead us on and keep us guessing. I thought that was heel work. I didn't think that was bait and switch by WWE at all. So, yeah, I don't know either. Really, I wish I had an answer, but I've got no clue what it could be.
What?
I hope it's something important because, God bless the whole idea of him elevating the tag. Again, let's elevate titles. Let's not talk about that on screen. Let's just have the champions be well booked and be stars. That will elevate it. We don't have to beat the crowd over the head. Oh, yeah, these titles don't really mean jack shit.
Stop being logical, man. Come on.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. We shall wait and see. Love Daniel Bryan with all my heart and soul. I hope it's something important. If it is 205 Live, I'll be inclined to watch every week.
Definitely. I think a lot of us will be.
Mm-hmm.
Is it time for Kyle Ross's I Love This Sport deep dive of the week?
It might be. I wanted to just mention a few things. Eric Bischoff has not yet started on SmackDown, for those wondering. Still driving. I believe he has officially landed in Connecticut on his long drive from Wyoming. But, there was some discussion that this was going to be his first week in charge of the SmackDown brand. It was not. Apparently, it's going to be next week, though, are the reports. So we shall see if there's any, again, people are going to see something and immediately, oh, there's Bischoff's fingerprints, just like they did with Heyman. And that the Braun Lashley angle. Also, I don't know if you have had a chance. We should mention AEW briefly here. Apparently, in the first video of Road to All Out, Sean Spears revealed that he has a manager, and that manager is Tully Blanchard. I have not seen the video yet. It dropped not long before we started recording. I am very intrigued to watch that.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Okay, your thoughts on what I say that Tully Blanchard will be managing Sean Spears against Cody Rhodes at All Out. Does that make you more excited about the match that Tully Blanchard is involved? Tully and Dusty, obviously longtime rivals.
Okay, yeah.
Will
They might
Tully
be able
be
to
teaching him the secrets of the Rhodes DNA?
I mean, I guess they got something there to work with. It doesn't really stir my pot.
Okay. Love Tully Blanchard with all irons. So maybe I should have him for it's a little late for a deep dive of the week for Tully. But I do have the deep dive of the week, like you said. Just wanted to pick a good old school WWF match. I've been watching the 86 Boston house shows recently in my spare time. Believe it or not, despite all the litany of wrestling that has taken place in Saturday, I often do watch this other stuff. I love watching 80s WWF. It's just the easiest watch, I feel. I can just fall asleep to it. It doesn't matter. But a match that everyone, the knock on 80s WWF, as well as it was booked, and, I can go back and watch it and really relish in the booking, which is what I feel is booking and promos were really strong. A match that I think was one of the best 1980s WWF matches occurred in August at the Boston Garden, the August 86 Boston show. This is on the network. Ricky Steamboat and Jake Roberts. This is a great match. The psychology is off the charts with the arm. Go ahead.
Where does somebody go to find this?
You have to go to Old School, in the Vault, Old School, 86, and then the Boston. I think they have every Boston show for that year in 86.
Okay.
But Steamboat Roberts is in the kind of middle of the show. It's not the main event.
You said August?
Yes, August. It is very good. I mean, they had a series of matches. Obviously, it started with the DDT angle on Saturday Night's Main Event. They had a lot of, heated matches around the horn all summer. But this is the best Steamboat Roberts match of the lot. And I really think you could make a case it's one of the 10 best 80s matches in WWF, which may not be saying much. It is not a near 5-star match. Obviously there were not a lot of, high-end matches from that era, but this is really good. And I just wanted to recommend it.
I'm so bummed out because normally this is the point in the show where, Kyle and Ryan would continue to talk while I fired up the match of the week and watched that while they discussed whatever. But, because that Ryan's gone, I decided to be a professional and the TV's off so I could really concentrate and have a good conversation here with Kyle.
And I appreciate it. And and I believe we've got it. Hopefully we made Ryan Drosty proud this week.
Oh, yeah!
We can only hope.
Yeah.
We can really, hopefully next week when he returns, it'll be, a great sweet reunion like when Bret Hart came back and gave Shawn Michaels that hug on Raw.
Actually, I would rather. What if it was like Bret and Owen? I'll cry in his arms. I don't care.
I love you.
I'll cry in his arms. I don't give a damn. But I think we covered it all again. Feel free again, folks, if you want to listen to what we thought of Fight for the Fallen and Extreme Rules, become a patron.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Sorry, go ahead.
I was like, just like my buddy Bryan did. Celebrated his 40th birthday. You know what? And gave himself one of the great gifts that a man could give himself. And that's, access to Top Rope Nation Extra. Top Rope Nation Classics, it is my understanding. I believe Ryan announced last week the plan is for us to finally do our long-awaited look back at Super Brawl 2, a show that all three of us I know and hold in very high regard. We'll be doing that. And again, you must be a patron to listen to that show.
Yeah, so thank you to all our Patreons. Thanks to our producers, Brian, Derek, Kyle, Tim, Forrest, Sean, Gabe, Carla, and Liam. I hope everybody enjoys today's show. Any parting words, Kyle?
Tomorrow Never Knows is a fantastic song by the Beatles.
Oh, God. Hey, hugs and kisses, everybody. We'll see you next week.